So I'm going to do my best to film. I don't have a tripod or anything, but I just thought I would talk about some different headgear, the difference between certain types of bits and bridles, and specifically what is the difference between a snaffle bit and a curb bit. Because a lot of people seem to think that the difference is whether or not the mouthpiece breaks, and that is not correct. That's not the difference between a curb bit and a snaffle bit. So anyway, so I brought home just some of the stuff that I've accumulated over my only probably about 10 years of owning horses. Probably need to get rid of some of it, but anyway, so this is starting with a couple different types of halters. This is a show halter. As you can see, I got it and I haven't had a need to use it yet, but I love it and it's gorgeous. This type of halter, this is a leather halter. There's a lot of plain leather halters that don't have any silver on them. And this one has a chain on the lead. I'm not a huge fan of that, but for a lot of shows they require it. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll just loop it through this ring here and then not have the chain on the horse at all, which for the most part is just fine. But anyway, that's what I do with the chain. But this is definitely not a halter you would just use for every day. Okay, and then next down the line, this is a rope halter. This is actually a custom one that one of my really good friends made for me for 15 bucks, which is cheaper than what you can buy them new for anyway. It's for my big guy. As you can see, the rope's a little bit thinner, so it's a little bit, got a little bit more bite to it than like a thicker roped one, like this kind of rope would. And I've got a couple of halters, rope halters like that, where like even this kind of a rope is a little bit thicker, so it would be nicer than this stuff. But this one works really well on the big guy because he's just a lot bigger than I am, and it's nice sometimes you need a little more oomph with him. And then this is another rope halter. This actually has a couple of different knots that go over the nose, adds a couple extra pressure points. So even though this is a little bit thicker, this also has a couple extra knots. So, you know, it's just whatever works better on that particular horse. I like this one generally on my pregnant mare. It works really well for her because she's really good at, she's lazy and likes to want to graze every time that you ever handle her because she thinks she's starving. And on down the line, we've got this type of halter. And this is your standard buckle. This is the nose piece. This goes over the ears. I actually don't like these halters that much because I think when you're working, especially with the younger horses, all this metal by the horse's face tends to be kind of confusing, especially if you have a snap on the lead rope. And also if you tie, I mean, in my personal opinion, my years of having horses, if I tie my horse to something solid and I have metal, and if they pull back, the first thing that's going to break is anything that's metal. So a snap or whatever. I don't necessarily want that to happen. Because if your horse learns that he can get relief if he just breaks something, that's a really good way to teach a horse that it's fine to pull back. And there's a couple of different methods and whatnot to teach horses to that they can pull, but they're just not going to get free without hurting themselves. And I can probably do videos on that later. But in general, I want my horses to learn that the best way to get relief is to just step up rather than just breaking something and getting relief themselves. But anyway, next down the line, this is checkers. But this is a basic Western head stall or bridle. I've heard both terms. They're both kind of correct. I like it. It's got a heart on it. It's just your basic. It's got a strap that goes under the chin, or the throat latch, I'm sorry. So this, a lot of people would see this and say, okay, well, this is a curb bit, right? Well, no, it's a snaffle bit. No, it's a curb bit. This is a curb bit. This is what we call like a French link. There's a couple different types of, it's like a dog bone type. I like this on certain horses. It's nice because this doesn't have the like nutcracker effect that just a single joint would have. However, this does put a little bit more pressure on the bars of your horse's mouth. So just depending on the type of horse, how your horse is sensitive to what pressure where, this may or may not work for you, but it's something that I like to keep in my toolbox for sure. And then anything has a curb, that's called the curb bit, is anything that's got leverage. So you're not putting the pressure here, which if I put the reins here, then it could work as a snaffle bit. But when I put the reins down here, it's going to twist this mouthpiece. So that adds torque, and it pulls down on the pull. So that's what a curb bit is. And this chin strap is very necessary for this type of bit because it only allows you to torque this bit so far. So I was like a 2 fingers between the horse's chin and the chain. So that's what I like. There's different types of these too. I actually prefer like a leather one myself, but these work okay too, just depending. It depends on what you have available, I guess, to you. Okay, and then this is another just basic Western bridle. I've had this forever. I think I got it as a Christmas present, like when I was 14. It's like my first bridle. Now this is something I made myself. It's called an Indian side pull. So there's 2 ropes, and I've tied them together. So when I pull on this rein, it gets tight around her chin, and then pull on this rein and it gets tight over there. There's another thing that it's kind of a step up from riding in just a plain rope halter. It's got a little more oomph to it, but your horse may or may not like this. I really like it right now for my pregnant mare because if I'm just riding her around, I'm not asking her to really work. It's just kind of a lot of trail riding and dinking around, so I don't need anything with a lot of oomph to it. So this is an Argentine snaffle bit, a curb bit. And this one technically I think is an Argentine also style bit. I like these a lot. It's kind of a step up from a snaffle bit if you're looking to go into a curb bit and do some neck reining. Swivels here, it kind of has independent action. I like that. Just depending, I mean, it depends on what you want to do with your horse. And I like these because it does give me the option to put my reins up here. They're really, really nice for when I'm transitioning from when I'm getting on and when my lesson kids are getting on, because then I can just move the reins up and make it a snaffle bit without having to switch the mouthpieces out. So this one is single jointed. So it does have the nutcracker effect, so if you pull straight back on both of these reins, this bit does have the potential to go up into the roof of the horse's mouth. And bits, when you're looking for a bit, you want, I don't know if you can tell, but it's curved. So it sits over the tongue better, and it has less of that ability for the bit to go right up into the roof of the mouth. So if you're going to go with a single jointed, make sure that you have something that's got some curve to it. But that's just me personally. Again, this has a chin strap. You should not ever ride with anything that's got leverage without a curb strap. Because what will happen is it will give you unlimited ability to twist and torque this in your horse's mouth. Or make it a nice cat toy. So, curb straps are very necessary. I just have chain ones right now because that's what came with the bit. But it's definitely, they do come in leather. And those are usually show legal also. So, Yeah, just like I said, it's what you have. It's whatever works. If you do use these types of chains, make sure that they lay flat on your horse's chin, not twisted up. This would not feel good if it was on your horse's chin. Okay, this is a true snaffle bit. This is actually a half cheek snaffle. So this piece here just helps it to not slide through the horse's mouth for whatever reason if you're pulling, especially with young horses when you have to really guide their face around and really teach them how to follow cues.